Now, Harriet here was a witch's apprentice. To complete her training and become an independent witch, she needed to pass the final spell exam. Her professor told her that all the information she needed to succeed was inside a haunted book at the library. So Harriet headed there to find it. Take a look around. Can you spot it? Sure, all the books look old and creepy. It's a magic library after all. But only this one's pages are flipping on their own. It must be the haunted one. As soon as Harriet touched the book, a furious ghost came out of its pages and yelled, "How dare you wake me up from my peaceful slumber? Answer me this, or I'll show you horrors that'll make you wish you were a ghost too. I dance on graves when no one is watching. My steps silent and my breath cold. What am I?" It's the fog. Benny and Jack were extreme sports enthusiasts. During spring break, they joined the Airbender Skydivers camp to learn how to skydive. It was finally their turn to try the simulation to test their instincts and readiness for real-life emergencies. Take a look at them inside the vertical wind tunnel and tell me who would survive if this was the real thing. Even though Benny is blindfolded, it would be he who would survive, because Jack here forgot to wear his parachute. Now Nathan was trying to break a record by sailing around the world in just a week. However, he got caught in a terrible storm. His boat couldn't fight the waves, and he found himself cast away on an unfamiliar island. When he opened his eyes, he was surrounded by the angry locals. They couldn't decide how to punish him for disturbing their peace, so they gave him 3 options. They could send him to a cave infested with tarantulas, throw him in a pit filled with venomous snakes, or feed him to the hungry tigers. Which should he choose? He should choose the tarantula cave because although it might be gross to feel their hairy legs on you, they are harmless to humans, most of the time. Zelda found herself trapped at the top of a wizard's tower. She discovered 3 ropes leading out of the window down to the ground. Which rope should she choose to escape? The first rope looks thick and sturdy, but see this sharp brick that it's wrapped around halfway down? That will likely cut it under Zelda's weight. On the other hand, if you take a closer look, you'll see that the second rope is no rope at all. It's a long snake. So that leaves her with the first rope. Just as Zelda was about to climb down the rope from the wizard's tower, a prince back on the ground yelled and told her to be quick, or else she would be caught by the wizard. How did he know? Take a look at this area on the tower. There's a gap where a brick should be, revealing an eye watching outside from within the tower. That must be the wizard. Jonas wanted to surprise his girlfriend on their first-year anniversary. So he booked a table at the new mystery-themed restaurant in town, known for its unique concept where guests weren't supposed to order but were served surprise dishes instead. After they were seated, 3 waiters approached their table. Each had a covered dish on their food cart, and Jonas and his girlfriend had to choose one. But Jonas thought one of the waiters looked suspicious. Who is it? The second waiter may have red stains all over his shirt, but he probably got them from a hot tomato sauce that is here on the second row of his food cart. The third waiter is not wearing regular waiter clothes like the other two, but look at the dry cleaner's receipt peeking through his pocket. He just left them there. Do you see the weird green slime leaking through the first waiter's tray? Now that looks poisonous. Professor Benedict was teaching the architectural design class at the country's most prestigious university. Rumors had reached him that a student within the civil engineering department was cheating their way through exams without ever leaving a trace. He was determined to catch whoever it was on the first day of the final exam of his class. Take a look at all the students. Can you spot the cheater? You think it's this girl with the ponytail because she has a calculator on her desk, right? Wrong. See the note on the blackboard? It says calculators and rulers are allowed. But check out the ruler the Ronald Weasley-looking guy in the back is holding. It's not a regular one. It has the answers on it. Audrey and Henry were driving across the country for their friend's wedding. As night fell, they began to feel tired and decided to find a place to rest. When Audrey searched for hotels on her phone, she found that there was only one option with available rooms on their route. As they checked in, the hotel clerk informed them that there were 3 rooms available. Take a look at their options. Which room should they choose? The first room has a leak in one corner of the ceiling, which is an immediate deal breaker. And check out the wardrobe in the second room. One of its doors is slightly open, and through the gap, you can see eyes peeking out. Somebody's hiding in there and watching the room. Ew, creepy. So they should choose the third option. Max went deep-sea fishing, aiming for a big catch. Things were great until he hooked a huge monstrous fish that just wouldn't let go. During the struggle, he lost his balance, hit his head, and fell overboard. The current swept him to a deserted island where he found a boat, a raft, and a hot air balloon as potential escape options. Which one should he choose? The boat has a hole in this side, so it's definitely not seaworthy. The raft seems sturdy, but there are shark fins circling nearby. The hot air balloon, on the other hand, might be looking old, but it is filled and ready for takeoff. Cassandra and her friends went to the woods to have a picnic. However, after their meal, Cassandra fell asleep under the sun. When she woke up, she realized her friends had left her there, and they were all gone. She didn't know the woods that well, so she got lost trying to get back. All of a sudden, the path she took split up into 3 smaller roads. The first one led to a swamp with flesh-eating crocodiles. The second led to a bloodthirsty vampire's castle, and the third led to an active volcano. Which one should she take? She should pick the second path. Because take a look at the sky. The sun is still up and shining bright. So the vampire can't hurt her. After leaving the vampire's castle safely behind, Cassandra found herself in the dampest, darkest part of the woods. Suddenly, she spotted something strange. Can you see what that is? It's this teeny tiny bicycle standing next to mushrooms on the ground. As Cassandra took a closer look at it, she noticed that the mushrooms had even tinier doors and windows. When she yelled, "Hello!" a fairy greeted her and said, "I see you're a lost traveler. I'll magically teleport you if you answer my riddle. What has roots that nobody sees, is taller than trees, up it goes, yet it never grows?" The answer is a mountain. Now Simon got a call that he accepted to become a contestant on the new quiz show. So, you want to be rich? When it was his turn to compete, he made it to the final question, which was, how is it possible that a person's birthday is in January, but they celebrate it in the summer? Can you help him win the grand prize? It is possible if they live in the southern hemisphere, where January is one of the hottest months. Psst, you. Yeah, you. I really need your detective help with these riddles. Maria came to a beauty salon. She had 2 appointments, a manicure and a haircut. Suddenly, she realized that one of the professionals working there was dangerous. Who was it? The hairdresser with huge stained scissors and brushes in the pocket of her apron? Or the nail tech with a nail file and suspicious red stains on her uniform? Look at the manicurist more attentively. In her bag, you'll notice a knife, a rope, and a tape. She's definitely dangerous.
Oh, no.
Look at these people waiting for their flight at the airport. Can you figure out which of them is a dog owner? It's the man on the left, sitting on a bench and reading a book. Have you been attentive enough to notice he's got a bone in his bag? It must be a gift for his pooch. Now look at these guys. One of them is a zombie. Can you figure out which one it is? When you think about it, you'll understand that zombies are into brains, not computers. Plus, the guy on the right has a weirdly shaped palm, and he's looking at the other guy's head too intently. The gamer should watch out. Now, this might look like a lovely family portrait, but not all people depicted here are actually human. Can you figure out which family member is a ghost? Pay attention to the shadows. The man is the only person in this photo to have one. Sadly, the rest of his family are just ghosts. You've got to choose one room in which you'll have to spend 1 hour. One of the rooms is swarming with thousands of rats. Another is almost completely filled with water. And the last room is an infinite pool with jellyfish. Which room should you pick? The second room is the safest option. If you manage to stay close to the surface, you'll be able to breathe since there's a bit of space between the ceiling and the water.
Oh, yes.
Look at these hybrid animals. You're about to fight one of them. Think twice before picking your opponent. The wrong choice may cost you your life. Opt for the hybrid of a shark and a jaguar. Such a bizarre creature won't be able to breathe on dry land, and you'll just need to wait a bit before the jury announces your victory. So you've just moved to a new town. It's so small that there are just 2 barbershops there. The barber working in the first one has an impeccable haircut. The hair of the barber in the second establishment looks quite messy, and still, you choose to go to the second professional. Why? Well, if there are just 2 barbers in the town, it means the second barber gave the first one his perfect haircut. Look at these ladies attentively. All of them seem to be pregnant. But what if I tell you that one of them has just stolen a watermelon? Can you figure out who it is? The first lady has a visible belly button. The second one doesn't hold her belly at the moment, so it must be real. As for the third girl, She's holding her belly tightly, and we can see something green through her clothes. She must be the watermelon thief. Now let's check your logistical thinking and math skills. You have 3 empty cups and 10 sugar cubes. You need to distribute these sugar cubes between the cups in such a way that each cup contains an odd number of cubes. All you need to do is put 3 cubes in the first cup and 3 cubes in the second cup. After that, place the remaining 4 cubes and the second cup in cup number 3. This way, the first cup will have 3 sugar cubes, which is an odd number. The second cup will have 3 sugar cubes too. As for cup number 3, it will contain 7 sugar cubes, 4 of its own and 3 from the second cup. You have a box with multicolored marbles. All but 2 of them are red, all but 2 are blue, and all but 2 are green. How many marbles are there in the box? There are just 3 marbles in the box: blue, green, and red. A young lady has the same number of brothers and sisters, but each of her brothers has twice fewer brothers and sisters. How many sisters and brothers are there in the family? There are 4 girls and 3 boys in the family. Once, a man decided to go on a fishing trip with his friends. He asked his wife to pack some things for him: a fishing rod, a fishing box, some clothes that would be enough for a week, and his favorite pajamas. The wife did so. After the man returned, he entertained his wife with funny stories about what had happened during the trip. Suddenly, he asked why his wife hadn't packed his pajamas. The wife immediately understood that her husband was lying to her. He hadn't been on a fishing trip. How did she understand that? The woman put the pajamas in the fishing box. And if her husband didn't find it, it means he didn't open the fishing box. What a weird fishing trip that was. Jack is participating in a challenge. He's made it to the last stage, which takes place in a desert. If he succeeds now, he'll win $1 million. Jack needs to get a key out of one of 4 pots. On top of the first pot, there's a bowl filled with a strong acid. The second pot is covered with a bowl full of venomous spiders. In the bowl placed on the third pot, Jack sees a raging fire. A viper is curled up in the bowl covering the fourth pot. Now Jack isn't allowed to drop the bowls to the ground or turn them over. Which pot should he choose? The guy should choose the third bowl. He can put out the fire with sand and get the key. Camilla was afraid of dogs. One day, while jogging in the park, she noticed a large dog sitting near the bench. It looked unfriendly. The leash attached to the dog's collar was 3 feet long. Camilla decided it would be safe to pass by if there were at least 7 feet of space between her and the animal. But even on a leash, the dog still managed to bite her. How come? Well, the leash wasn't tied to anything. Kevin, a security guard in an amusement park, found a boy standing near a roller coaster. The kid said his name was Nick. He didn't know where his father was. Kevin took Nick to his office and made an announcement. Soon after that, 2 men showed up at the door. The first exclaimed that he and his son had been in a cafe. But after eating his burger, the man felt so unwell he had to spend almost 20 minutes in the bathroom. When he got out, his son wasn't around. The other man interrupted him, saying that he had ridden a roller coaster with his son. Then he left the boy to wait there and went to get some hot dogs. Which man was Nick's father? Nick is too young to ride that roller coaster. Look at that sign stating that only those older than 14 are allowed to have a ride. It means the second man is lying. The boy's dad is the unlucky guy with food poisoning. A bank manager was missing. The only suspicious thing the police found was a note left on his office desk. There were 4 numbers on it. His colleagues, John, James, and Otto, claimed they had nothing to do with this disappearance, but the police thought otherwise. Who did they suspect? When you write the word 1, it starts with the letter O. 2 starts with T, and so does 3. Then we have 1 again. That's the letter O. Together, we have the name Otto. And finally, a funny riddle might help you relax. Why should you never trust gravity? Because gravity will always let you down. Have a good one! Elsa was 17 years old the day before yesterday. Next year, she'll turn 20.
Yay.
How come? It's possible if the present day is January 1st, while Elsa's birthday is on the 31st of December. The day before yesterday, on December 30, she was still 17 years old. Yesterday, on the 31st of December, she turned 18. Thus, this year, Elsa turns 19 and next year 20. Elsa and her sister Helga explore an old attic in their parents' house. It's very dark and dirty. After that, they go downstairs to have some lunch. Helga's face is all covered with dust, while Elsa's face is super clean. But still, only Elsa goes to the bathroom to wash her face. Why? Elsa noticed that her sister's face was dirty, so she thought her face must be dirty too. As for Helga, she saw that Elsa's face was clean and assumed that her own face was clean too. After lunch, Elsa and Helga go for a walk across an enchanted forest. They reach the riverbank, but the bridge is closed for repairs. The sisters notice 2 dwarfs fishing in a boat near the bridge. They agree to help the sisters, but their boat is very tiny. It can fit either one sister or 2 dwarfs. Luckily, they manage to solve this issue. Elsa and Helga cross the river on the same boat. How? Well, first of all, one of the dwarfs brought his fellow on the opposite bank. Then he headed back for the sisters alone. Helga got into the boat and crossed the river. She gave the second dwarf the boat, and he returned to the opposite bank. He picked his fellow dwarf and brought him to Helga. Then one of the dwarfs swam to Elsa and passed the boat to her. She crossed the river and joined Helga, and finally, the second dwarf returned to his fellow. Helga and Elsa keep on walking and get lost in the forest. There are 3 roads to the nearest town. The first route is filled with mutant plants which feed on humans. The second path leads through an ice cave with a hungry dragon frozen inside a huge ice cube. The third route leads through a village of fairies. Their magic makes humans lose their minds. Which way is safe? Well, the dragon is trapped inside the ice cube, so it's not that dangerous. Finally, the sisters reach the town. They're walking down the main street. Suddenly, someone throws an orange right at Helga's head. Elsa identifies the apartment from which the fruit fell out and goes there to complain. She knocks, and a young man opens the door right away. Elsa explains that her sister was hit by an orange that fell from his window. But the guy says, "I was washing my dog when you knocked. Only me and my pet live here, so you confused the floors." But Elsa didn't believe him. Why? According to the man, he was bathing his only pet. but the dog's hair is dry. Therefore, his story is fake. Elsa and Helga enter the local home decor shop. Helga takes a picture of her sister standing in front of the mirror. Can you spot anything odd in this photo? Take a closer look at the mirror. Elsa's hands are reflected wrong, as well as the sale poster behind her. She must be a vampire. Just kidding. The sisters continue exploring the shop, but suddenly Elsa begins to scream and runs away. That's because one of these ladies is not alive. Can you guess who? The first woman is an ordinary human. There's a mirror behind her. The third lady has a painting of herself in the background. And the second lady, who's looking over her shoulder, is a phantom. Her reflection in the mirror doesn't match the reality. Elsa decides to hide in a building nearby. Surprise! It's a pet shop. Elsa wanders around it and spots one weird detail. Can you see it too? The turtle is wearing sunglasses. The locals tell Elsa and Helga about a creepy werewolf who has been scaring the citizens for several weeks. They only know that this werewolf is a lady and she has a husband. He's the only person who can calm her down. Elsa finds 3 suspects who might be the werewolf's husband, but none of them admits it. Can you find him? He's the second guy. There are suspicious brownish hairs on his clothes, although his own hair is blonde. The next day, Helga has a birthday party. Elsa goes to the bakery to purchase a cake for her. She's late, so she rushes over and bumps into a waiter. Elsa hits her head and forgets what cake Helga asked her to buy. She remembers just 3 things. It shouldn't have any green elements, the cake frosting shouldn't include more than 1 color, and it must have at least 1 berry. Can you help Elsa find the correct cake? Elsa should take the 4th cake. It's a chocolate cheesecake, so it doesn't have anything green. The glazing is brown and is decorated with cherries. A perfect match. Elsa buys the cake and leaves. The bakery is located inside the highest tower in town. Elsa enters the elevator to go down, but she hits the wrong button and finds herself on the roof. She decides to take some pictures with the iconic huge clock installed at the top of this tower. Oops! Elsa drops her phone from the roof. She decides to leave, but someone has already locked the door, and the elevator won't work, so she's trapped on the roof. Luckily, Elsa can still change the time of the clock. What time should Elsa set on the clock to make someone notice and rescue her? If she sets 5:05 on the clock, it'll look like an SOS signal. Finally, Elsa escapes from the tower and heads to the parking lot. Here's her car. Can you figure out the number of the place where it's parked? '87. Elsa arrives home. Helga shows her vacation photos sent by her new boyfriend, Kyle. In this case, you can see Kyle, his friend Bob, and a humanoid robot, Neo. Neo is standing next to Bob. A person wearing the yellow mask is not a man. What color is Kyle's mask? According to the terms, only the 3rd guy can be Kyle, so his mask is blue. The birthday party is going well. It's almost midnight, so Elsa goes to the kitchen and adds candles on the birthday cake. Suddenly, she remembers that the only lighter in the house is upstairs in her room. She leaves the cake at the table for a minute. Then Elsa returns and sees the cake smashed all over the floor.
Oh, no.
She questions 3 suspects. Lauren says, "I was in the living room all night. I don't know who did it." Wendy says, I went outside to watch the full moon. It's so beautiful tonight. Kyle says, I was shooting a TikTok dance with Helga. Who ruined the cake? Wendy, take a look out the window. The moon is not full. Busted. The next morning, Helga wakes up earlier than Elsa and checks her feed. Breaking news, a legendary thief ran away from a nearby prison and now creeps around the town. He's a talented shapeshifter, so no one knows for sure what he might look like. Suddenly, Helga hears someone ringing on the door. She opens and faces two guys who introduce themselves. Bob is a gardener from a nearby park, and Peter is a garbage man. Both guys want to use a bathroom, so they ask Helga to let them in. But only one of them is safe to invite over. Can you guess who? Bob is wearing clothes with red stains, but he's also holding a brush, so he was probably just painting a fence. Let's take a closer look at Peter's facial hair. One mustache has come unglued. It's fake. So he must be the runaway criminal from the news. Well, have you been looking for a chance to put on your detective hat? Well, here you go. A new portion of tricky riddles to sharpen your mind.
Yeah.
Melissa met her guests who came to her birthday party. Catherine came before Bob, Aaron after Raynon. Bob arrived before Raynon, and Timothy came after Aaron. So, which guest arrived last? Timothy was the last one to come. Now let's say you have two jugs. One of them holds exactly 3 gallons of water and the other holds 5 gallons. With the help of just these two jugs and a fire hose, how can you measure out exactly 4 gallons of water? Fill the 5-gallon jug to the top. Then pour it into the 3-gallon jug until it's full. You now have 2 gallons of water remaining in the 5-gallon jug. Pour out the water from the 3-gallon jug and then pour the 2 gallons from the 5-gallon jug into the 3-gallon one. Finally, fill the 5-gallon jug to the top and pour it into the 3-gallon jug until it's full. There was only enough space left for 1 more gallon in the 3-gallon jug, so you now have exactly 4 gallons in the 5-gallon jug. Look at this image attentively and try to find a mistake. There's no river on the other side of the bridge. Where does it disappear? Now, look at these men very closely. Can you figure out which of them is a fake doctor? The doctor on the left may be wearing casual clothes, but he has his badge on, which probably means he was called to work urgently and didn't have time to change. He's also holding a stethoscope. The doctor in the middle is holding a spoon, but even though it looks suspicious, he has just given a child patient some cough syrup. You can also see a badge on his uniform. As for the man on the right, he's not a doctor. There's no badge on his uniform. And if you examine him more attentively, you'll notice the police uniform under his white coat. He's most likely a police officer undercover. Christy poured herself a full cup of tea and drank half of it. Then she filled the cup with milk. Then she drank half of the drink again. Then she refilled it with milk again and drank the rest of it. Can you figure out if Christy drank more tea or more milk? She drank the same amount of tea and milk. Look, Christy ended up drinking all her tea since the cup was eventually empty. Christy refilled the milk 2 times, and every time it was half a cup of milk, totally a full cup of milk. Deceptor, a famous magician, announced that he could throw a ping-pong ball in such a way that it would go a short distance, come to a complete stop, and go in the opposite direction. He also clarified that he wouldn't bounce the ball off of any object or tie anything to it, and indeed, he managed to perform the trick. How did he do it? He threw the ball straight up into the air. Can you name 4 days of the week that start with the letter T? These days are Tuesday, Thursday, today, and tomorrow. Now, listen up.
Yeah.
All statements are true except one. 3 days ago was not Friday. The day after tomorrow will be Saturday. Tomorrow is not Wednesday. In 5 days, it's a day off. Yesterday was not Saturday. So the question is, what day of the week is today? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday? It's Thursday. Let's see how we can figure it out. 3 days ago was not Friday. If this statement is true, then today is not Monday. The day after tomorrow will be Saturday. If it's true, then today is Thursday. Tomorrow is not Wednesday. Then today is not Tuesday. It's a day off in 5 days. If this statement was true, today would be Monday or Tuesday. But in this case, the statement contradicts the first and third ones. It must be false. Yesterday was not Saturday. It means that today is not Sunday. Based on all this, we can conclude that today is Thursday. There were 2 plastic jugs filled with water. Can you put all the water into one barrel without using any dividers and still tell which water comes from which jug? You can do it by freezing the water in one or both jugs and then cutting the plastic away, leaving only the ice. After that, you can put the chunks of ice into the barrel. This way, you'll be able to tell which water comes from which jug. A farmer in Florida owns a beautiful pear tree. He supplies fruit to a nearby grocery store. One day, the store owner calls the farmer to check how much fruit is available for him to buy. The farmer knows that the main trunk has 24 branches. Each branch has 12 boughs, and each bough has 6 twigs. Since each twig bears one piece of fruit, how many plums will the farmer be able to sell? Unfortunately, none. At least not from this tree. A pear tree doesn't produce plums. You have 5 jars with pills. Each pill weighs 10 grams, except for contaminated pills contained in one jar. There, each pill weighs 9 grams. You have a scale, but can you tell which jar has the contaminated pills after making just one measurement? To find the contaminated pills, you should follow the following steps. Take out 1 pill from jar number 1, 2 pills from jar number 2, 3 pills from jar number 3, 4 pills from jar number 4, and 5 pills from jar number 5. Put all these 15 pills on the scale. The correct weight should be 150 grams. But since one of the jars has contaminated pills, the weight will definitely be less than 150 grams. If the weight is 149 grams, then jar number 1 has the contaminated pills, because there is only one pill like that. If the weight is 148 grams, then the contaminated pills are in jar number 2. If the weight is 147 grams, the contaminated pills are in jar number 3, and so on. Many years ago, one guy was captured by an evil witch who kept him in her house. There was a cellar door in the house, and the witch warned the guy not to open it because he was not ready to see what was behind it. Can you guess what was on the other side of the door that the witch didn't want the guy to see? The guy was actually locked in the cellar, and on the other side of the door was the rest of the house and the outside world. The witch just didn't want the guy to escape. One day, a boss told his employees, "I can fight and beat any man who works here." A new employee, a tall ex-prize fighter, decided to challenge the boss. Interestingly, the boss won the bet, even though he didn't defeat the man. What did the boss do? Not to lose face, he fired the new employee on the spot. This way, when he defeated the boss, he wasn't working in the company anymore. Marty and Jill wanted to copy 3 60-minute tapes. They have 2 tape recorders that will dub the tapes for them, so they can do 2 at a time. It takes 30 minutes for each side to complete. Therefore, in 1 hour, 2 tapes will be completed, and in another hour, the third will be done. Jill says all 3 tapes can be finished in 90 minutes. Can you figure out how it is possible? Let's call the tapes 1, 2, and 3 with sides A and B. In the first 30 minutes, the guys will work with 1A and 2A. In the second 30 minutes, they will record 1B and 3A. Now, tape 1 is completed. Finally, in the last half hour, they will do tape 2B and 3B. Now, Carol was invited to a Halloween party in an abandoned house. Her friends asked if she was up for a challenge, and she said yes. Soon enough, she was locked inside a room. In this room, there was 1 door and 3 light switches next to it. Behind the door was an empty closet with nothing but a light bulb. Her task was to figure out which switch controls the light bulb inside the closet. She could flip the switches in whatever way she wanted, but once she opened the door, she couldn't touch the switches anymore. After some minutes of thinking, she was able to get it right. How did Carol do it? Okay, let's go step by step. She flipped switch number 1 and then waited a few minutes. She flipped it back to off and then immediately flipped switch number 2. Then she opened the door and checked the light. The bulb was off, so she discovered that it wasn't switch number 2 that controlled the light. So she decided to touch the bulb to test if it was hot or cold. If the bulb had been cold, that would have meant that switch number 3 controlled it. But the bulb was hot, so that meant that switch number 1 controlled 1. Way to go, Carol! To get back to the party, Carol had to solve another riddle. There were 2 hourglasses in front of her. One hourglass measures 7 minutes, and the other one measures 4 minutes. She needed to time 9 minutes using both hourglasses. How could she do it? First, she turned both hourglasses at the same time. By the time the 4-minute glass finished, there were still 3 minutes left on the other one. She flipped the 4-minute glass again. When the 7-minute glass was empty, there was 1 minute left on the other glass. And once the 4-minute glass emptied again, there was 1 minute's worth of sand at the bottom half of the 7-minute timer. She flipped it over again, so there was 1 minute worth of sand on the top of the glass. And when the 7-minute timer finally emptied again, 9 minutes elapsed in total. Now look at this party scene. Everyone is dancing in their Halloween costumes and having an enjoyable time. You've been told that one of these people is a real vampire. Can you figure out who it is? Let's see. The guy on the left is drinking something red, but he has a shadow, so he can't be a real vampire. The second lady looks creepy, could be her, but if you look closely at the mirror on the wall, you'll see her reflection, so it can't be her. And we can also see the reflection of the fourth guy in the mirror. This only leaves one lady left. She must be the real vampire. Anna sat down to watch her favorite TV show. She made some popcorn, turned on the TV, and nestled comfortably to binge-watch an entire season. Her cat Pepper sat down next to her, but after 5 minutes of screen time, Anna suddenly passed out. Look at the image. Can you guess what happened there? Anna's cat Pepper got scared with a loud thump that came from the TV. It jumped on top of Anna and it scared the life out of her. That's why she passed out. Brendan was camping alone in a remote location. He left his campsite and hiked 3 miles south. Then he turned east and hiked for another 3 miles. After that, he turned north and hiked for another 3 miles. After walking 9 miles, he was back to the exact same point from where he had left off. Plus, he got there just in time to find a bear trying to open his tent and steal his food. Look at the image. Can you guess the only place in the world where Brendan could be right now? It's the North Pole. That's the only place where you can hike for 3 miles south, east, and north and end up exactly where you left off. Fraser bought a cozy home in Vancouver. On a sunny day, he decided to take his dog out for a walk. When he let his dog off the leash, it ran extremely far away from him. At some point, the dog was opposite him across a huge lake. Fraser called his dog, who managed to cross safely to the other side of the lake without getting wet or using a boat. Can you guess how the dog managed to do it? Well, that's a trick question, but the dog could easily cross the lake since it was frozen. Your best friend invited you for brunch at a place called Wally's World. As soon as you arrive there, the hostess tells you that you need to solve a riddle to get inside. She tells us that there is only one rule at Wally's World. Over there is pizza with cheese, but no pizza with sausage. There is pepper, but no salt. There is a door, yet no entrance or exit. With this information, can you guess what the law is? Everything in Wally's World must contain double letters. So things such as pizza, pepper, and cheese are allowed inside. Whew! That sure wasn't obvious, huh? On a snowy winter afternoon, Dr. Brown was resting in front of the fireplace. Suddenly, somebody threw a snowball at his window. The hit was so strong that the glass shattered. Dr. Brown stood up just in time to see 3 neighborhood boys running away. They were brothers with the names John Smith, Mark Smith, and Dave Smith. The next day, a paper note was left on Dr. Brown's door. There it was written, a question mark, then Smith. He threw the snowball. Dr. Brown knew immediately which brother had done it. Can you figure it out too? It was Mark. You see, the note said, question Mark Smith. He threw the snowball. But the boys were clever and put a question mark instead to test Dr. Brown's detective abilities. Henry was backpacking through Brazil by himself. One evening at around 8 p.m., he got very hungry and decided to look for a cozy restaurant to have some dinner. He walked into a traditional restaurant only to find a customer and a waiter arguing over something. The customer said that he had ordered clam soup, while the waiter was saying he had only ordered a cup of tea. Henry saw something that immediately showed him who was lying. Can you find out too? The customer is lying. Behind him, there's a huge sign that says the restaurant only serves soup from 1 to 4 p.m. Since it was 8 p.m. in the evening, the waiter would have never accepted the customer's order in the first place. Cheryl ran into her house extremely worried. "I set off as soon as I heard the news," she told the police officer. "I was at my parents' house in another town. What's happened to my husband?" "Well," the police said, "somebody hurt Mr. Moffat, and he ended up in the hospital. He's going to be okay, but we still need to find out who did this to him." The police officer has questioned 3 suspects so far. Mr. Moffat's secretary said, "I was sent to visit Mr. Moffat's business partner in the morning. Some important documents needed signatures." The cook said, "I haven't left the kitchen today. Mr. Moffat wanted me to prepare a meal for him and his wife." The housekeeper said, "I didn't hear anything today. I was doing some household chores all day long. After that, I was so tired, I decided to take a nap." The police officer realized who the culprit was in no time. Can you figure out who did it? It was the cook. Mr. Moffat didn't ask him to cook anything for his wife, since she had been out of town all along.
On an overnight train in Budapest, Mrs. Celine got robbed. She is a very wealthy heiress, and she inherited a diamond necklace from her great-grandmother, which was the exact piece of jewelry that was robbed. She called the inspector to solve the crime. After interviewing most of the passengers on board the train, the inspector narrowed it down to 3 suspects. Mr. Bruges was an eccentric widower, carrying a mysterious bag. Mr. Blue was one of the waiters on the train, carrying his metallic tray around. And Mr. Pearls was a hoarder, carrying lots of suitcases. Take a look at the images and give it your best shot at solving this crime. Mr. Bruges is just trying to keep his cat safe inside his mysterious bag. He's no criminal. Mr. Pearls is sweating like that because he's carrying all his valuable belongings, so he's really afraid to be robbed. This leaves us Mr. Blue, the true culprit. If you look attentively, he has a diamond necklace poking out from under his metallic tray. The airport police are having a lot of trouble these days. Many convicts escape prison and are trying to leave the country as fast as they can. Take a look at this image. You gotta figure out ASAP who is the fugitive. It's the lady on the right. Although the woman in the wanted poster is blonde, she must have dyed her hair brown to get through security. But her lips and freckles are exactly the same as in the picture. Tess, Ivy, and Monica are in a pretty bad financial rut. They walked into a local supermarket planning on stealing something. What they didn't know was that there was a police officer watching the cameras at the store. Can you figure out who just stole some chips? It was Tess, the first lady. Sure, Ivy is sweating a lot, but she didn't take anything. But look at Tess's hair. She's hiding some chips in that ponytail. For this year's Super Bowl, Taylor decided to invite some friends over to her place. Her house was packed with some of her closest friends. But some random people also crashed the party. Out of nowhere, her friend Jackie screamed she saw a thief amongst them. Someone had stolen her golden bracelet. Take a look at the footage from the party. Sherlock, can you spot the thief? You sure have a good eye if you spot the thief in the middle of the crowd. He was really swift in sneaking behind that woman and stealing her bracelet. Way to go, you! John started his Sunday morning by jogging around the park near his house. When he returned, he found out very unpleasant news. Someone had stolen his car. He questioned 3 of his neighbors. Henry said he had been playing video games for the past 12 hours and hadn't left his basement during all that time. Rosie said she was a gardener and had been planting daisies in the public area all morning. She also said she saw a suspicious man who opened John's car using a knife. Jack said he had seen John's car when he went out for groceries, but when he returned home, it was gone. After listening to the suspects, John immediately knew who had done it. Can you tell who it was? It was Rosie. She said she'd been planting daisies, but look, there are only rose bushes in this area. Bernard is the owner of a meat shop downtown. He sells really expensive meat. As soon as he opened his shop, he had a rush of customers coming in to buy their daily meat. During the rush, he was so busy attending to the customers that he didn't see that someone stole the bacon. Who's the thief here? It's the guy in the suit. The dog is smelling his bag like there's some bacon inside it. He's definitely it. Jane was playing a video game when she was swallowed by the game. The next thing she knows, she's facing 3 mischievous robots. One of them stole her game controller, so she can't go back to her own reality. You gotta help Jane figure out which robot stole her controller. So far, you know that Robot A said, "B is the thief," and that the real thief always tells the truth. Can you solve this mystery with such little information? Robot C is the culprit. Let's check it out really quickly. If A was telling the truth, then it would be the thief. But it's impossible because A claims that B is the thief. B is also not the thief since A's claim that B is the thief is a lie. This just leaves us with the last option, Robot C. Betty was traveling across France. One night, she gave herself a treat by booking a table at an expensive restaurant. She was halfway through dinner when an elderly woman approached her. The woman said she looked a lot like her daughter and asked her for a favor. Since she hadn't spoken to her daughter for ages, she asked Betty to say, "Goodbye, Mother," as she left the restaurant. Betty thought it was super strange, but agreed. Soon after, she received the shock of her life. Guess what it was and share your 2 cents with us below. Betty was surprised with the bill which belonged to the elderly woman. She had asked the waiter to collect the bill from her daughter. Uh-oh, Betty. Can't believe you fell for that. Anna sat down to watch her favorite TV show. She made some popcorn, turned on the TV, and nestled comfortably to binge-watch an entire season. Her cat Pepper sat down next to her. But after 5 minutes of screen time, Anna suddenly passed out. Take a look at the image. Can you guess what happened there? Anna's cat, Pepper, got scared with a loud thump that came from the TV. It jumped on top of Anna and it scared the life out of her. That's why she passed out. The customer was saying that he had ordered soup, while the waiter was saying that he had only ordered tea. Henry saw something that immediately showed him who was lying. Prove to us that you've got the sharpest eye and find out what Henry saw. The customer is the one who's lying. Behind him, there's a huge sign that says the restaurant only serves soup from 1 to 4 p.m. Since it was 8 p.m. in the evening, the waiter would have never accepted the customer's order in the first place. It was a lovely spring morning, so Margaret decided to take her kids to the park for some fresh air. While the kids played in the grass, Margaret decided to catch up on her reading. She left her bag right beside her, next to a stranger. In a few minutes, she noticed the bag was stolen. We need your detective skills here. Can you figure out who the thief was? The person came out from the bush behind the bench where Margaret was seated. He was so quick it was nearly impossible to see him. Yikes! Robbie was invited to a typical college party. A lot of his friends were there, but there were also some random people. Out of nowhere, the lights went dark, and before he knew it, Robbie was waking up with a vampire bite on his neck. Take a look at some footage from the beginning of the party. Who's a vampire here? It's the guy on the corner. Look at the mirror. He has no reflection. He must be the vampire. Neil was one of the best watchmakers in town. He got a call from the police station one day, asking him for help to solve a crime. 2 burglars were caught robbing shops in town. Amongst the things they stole, there were 2 watches. One of the burglars claimed that the watch they stole was a fake, so the police contacted Neil to see if that was really true. Take a look at both watches. Can you help Neil figure out which one is fake and which one is real? The watch on the left is a fake. If you look closely, you'll see that the miniature arm is too long, so it can't pass around the entire clock when it moves. Maya was an undercover police officer. On a Saturday night, she was off duty and decided to go to the movies. When she arrived, she saw 2 women who looked pretty suspicious. She remembered that the police were tracking down a girl who had escaped from prison the week before. Take a look at both women. Can you tell if one has escaped prison recently? It's the lady on the left. Her prison uniform is peeking through her coat. I mean, she should have at least changed clothes by now, right? Beth arrived at school and one of her best friends showed her a picture. She told Beth that if she got the answer correctly, she would get a week's supply of free chocolate. The friend said that one of the people in the picture wasn't human. Can you help Beth figure out the answer? It's the boy in the middle. He doesn't have a shadow, which means he's definitely not human. Ruby was traveling around India when she decided to stop for some tea. As soon as she walked inside the tea shop, the owner placed 2 teapots in front of her. He told her she would get a free cup of tea if she could figure out his riddle. He told her that the first teapot contained enough tea for 40 cups and asked to figure out, just by looking at the pot, how many cups of tea it could carry inside. Take a look at the image. Can you help Ruby figure out the answer? This is a tricky one. Probably the second teapot can only carry around 20 cups of tea. If you look closely, you'll see that the outlets of the first teapot is located in the middle of the pot. But the outlet of the second pot is located right at the bottom, so even if the pot is taller, it can't hold more water than the first one. After water hits the level of the outlet, it'll just start overflowing. Mary was walking in an enchanted forest when she met Randy, a magical unicorn. Mary asked the unicorn for some information, but he refused to talk to her unless she solved one of his riddles. He was a trickster and liked confusing people with his riddles. He told Mary that in a nearby field there were tigers and sheep. Usually one tiger could catch 3 sheep in 3 minutes. So he asked her how long it would take for 100 tigers to catch 100 sheep. Can you help Mary figure out the answer? It would still take 3 minutes because each tiger is still catching 1 sheep in 3 minutes. It doesn't matter if it's 3 tigers or 100. The unicorn was surprised by Mary's abilities and gave her another riddle to solve. He asked her to name the 5 days of the week without saying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. She also couldn't say whether it was the first day of the week or the last. What do you think Mary answered here? She said the day before yesterday, yesterday, today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. Clever girl, huh? Brianna was traveling on business, and her company put her in one of the best hotels in town. She arrived from work late at night, exhausted. She was getting ready to go to bed when she heard a knock on the door. When she looked through the peephole, she saw a man standing outside. The man said he was sorry for bothering her, but the hotel database had crashed and he needed to recheck some of her information. Brianna said she would be back in a moment, got away from the door, and called security. She said there was someone in the hotel trying to rob her. Take a look at the image. How did she know the man was a robber? Look at the man's name tag. It's a female name. He is surely not the real hotel manager. Luca decided to throw a party for his best friends. He invited over 20 people to the party, but he only bought 9 candies. He told his friends he would leave the candies inside a pretty little box, and they could each get 1 candy. 9 people took 9 candies, but 1 candy was still in the box. How could that be possible? It's pretty simple. The last person took the candy and the box. This way, 1 candy remained in the box. Noah reported to the police that someone had stolen his red motorbike the previous night, right out of his garage. The police started to search for it and tracked 3 main suspects. Take a look at them. Which one stole Noah's motorbike? It's this guy on the right. Look closely. His motorbike is painted, but the paint is dripping and one can spot the old red color. He must have stolen it and painted it in a different color so as not to attract any attention. But you caught him. It's the finale of the Big Money Buzz Show, and Natalie is faced with a difficult task. There are 3 fish bowls, each one of them containing a different amount of gold bars inside. If she manages to put her hand inside one of the bowls and take it out, she can keep the gold bar. The first bowl has scalding hot water inside of it. The second is filled with flesh-burning acid. And the last bowl has a couple of venomous scorpions walking around. Which bowl should she choose? Natalie should just wait until the water cools down and grab the gold bar from the first bowl. Smart, huh? Bobby was blindfolded and put into a shaky van. When he woke up, he was alone in a dark, empty room. There was nobody there, but there were 3 envelopes on the floor. A post-it on top of the envelope said, "Each envelope contains a red capsule and 2 statements. In one of these envelopes, both statements are false. In another envelope, both statements are true. You have to choose the correct capsule to get out of this alive. He opened the first envelope, saw a capsule and the message: 1. Don't eat this candy. 2. Take the candy from the second envelope. On the second envelope, the note said: 1. Don't take the candy from the first envelope. 2. Take the candy from the third envelope. And the last envelope said: 1. Don't eat this candy. 2. Take the candy from the first envelope. Which capsule should Bobby take? He should trust the candy from the third envelope. Let's see why. The first message of the first envelope is true, while the second is false. Both messages from the second envelope are true. This leaves us with 2 false statements on the third envelope. The manager of a gift shop got a call from the police station. The police told him there was a burglar on the loose. He dressed up as the Joker and was robbing local shops. But since it was Halloween, a lot of people were walking dressed up as the Joker. At that moment, 4 Jokers entered the shop. The manager got suspicious, so he made the people stand in a line while he examined which one of them was the criminal. Take a look at the image. Can you guess which Joker is the real thief? The thief is the second Joker on the left. Take a look at his shoes. They're much bigger than the other shoes. He must be hiding something inside of it. Sally, Nellie, and Kelly are hanging out at the beach. They play volleyball and have a lot of fun. But then their ball flies away into the bushes. Nellie leaves the playground to bring it back, and she never comes back. Kelly and Sally look everywhere, but Nellie is gone. They begin to panic and call the police. Detective Bold arrives quickly, finds 3 suspects, and questions them. Bill says, "I've been chilling here since morning, but I didn't notice anything." Kyle says, "I arrived here just now, so I have no idea what's going on." And Mike says, "I was diving in the sea and watching the corals." Can you figure out the kidnapper? It's Kyle. He's wearing the same cap as Nellie. It seems too small for his head. That's because Kyle kidnapped Nellie and stole her cap. Sally returns to the apartment building where she lives. Wow, there's a basket with a cute little kitten on her porch. Sally takes 2 pictures to send them to her friends. Can you spot 3 differences between them? Here they are. Sally wants to know who brought the kitten, so she interrogates her neighbors. Tom says,
"I've been playing video games since early morning. I didn't leave my place at all."
Tim says, "I've been working out and I haven't left my apartment yet." Tyler says, "I stayed home all day too. I was too busy playing basketball." Who's lying? Tyler. He's playing with a soccer ball, not a basketball. Moreover, it's pretty hard to play basketball alone inside the apartment. Sally goes to the supermarket to buy some milk for the kitten. Only these 3 packs of milk are left on the shelf. Can you help Sally choose the best option? The second milk expired 2 centuries ago, and the third milk carton is bloated, which means that it has already turned sour. Therefore, Sally should grab the first milk. Sally has been working as a cab driver for several years. One day, a police officer finds Sally unconscious in her car. Someone attacked her and stained the car with glue. The officer checks Sally's app account. Sally had quarrels with 3 clients recently. so he interrogates them. Rob says, "I took a cab to the university. When we arrived, Sally asked me to pay extra money for parking, and we had a brief quarrel, but I wouldn't put my future career at risk for a couple of dollars." Karen says, "Yesterday, I received an emergency call. My husband got to the hospital, so I needed to get there as soon as possible. But Sally was driving very slowly. That's why we had a quarrel." And Mrs. Green says, "I was returning home from the supermarket after grocery shopping. Sally asked for extra money for helping me with the bags. I didn't like it." After hearing their stories, the officer knows for sure who's guilty. What about you? Take a closer look at Sally's car. It's parked near the hospital, which means that Karen's trip was the last one before the attack. Therefore, she did it. Sally is feeling much better and she gets back to work. She needs to pick up her client at a restaurant. Her app offers 3 possible routes, but only one of them will actually bring her to the desired destination. Can you guess which one? Sally should choose the second route. Sally parks her car near the restaurant and faces the following scene. One of these ladies has a ghost mother. Can you guess who? The second lady is a ghost mother. Take a look at her mother's face. She's even younger than her daughter, which means that time has stopped for her a long time ago. Moreover, she leans over a candle without any fear of an open flame. Sally wants to visit her boyfriend Ken at his office, but the front door is locked. Can you help Sally figure out the 5-digit code? Let's take a closer look at these scratches. These are hints. All Sally needs to do is count the number of intersections. So the code is 23504. Finally, Sally gets inside Ken's lab. He shows her a spaceship from another galaxy. Ken found it and managed to repair everything except the dashboard. How should these wires be connected to make it work? Here, we see unfamiliar symbols from another galaxy. Our task is to determine which word each symbol corresponds to. These dots are put in the same places as the tails of some letters. This way, we can find a match for each word and connect the wires. Suddenly, Sally gets sick. She has a headache and a sore throat. Ken only has 4 pills that are identical to each other. They don't have any cover or instructions. So there's no way he can identify which pill serves that purpose. The only thing he knows is that 2 of these 4 pills will cure the throat and the remaining 2 will help with the headache. Sally should take 1 of each kind to heal. What should she do? The only solution available is to cut each pill in half, and then take 1/2 from each of the 4 pills. This way, she'll definitely have 1 pill of each kind. Ken offers Sally to live together. They begin to look for a new apartment and arrange 3 meetings with landlords. Each tells a story about their property. Mrs. Gray says, "I inherited this amazing apartment from my sister, but now I want to rent it for the long term because I'm moving to a farm with my husband." Oliver says, "I've been living in this property for 5 years, and it's in perfect condition. But now I'm moving abroad for work. So I'd like to find good tenants who will take care of it." And Rose says, "This apartment belongs to my mother-in-law. She lives in Europe and asked me to find new tenants." Only one of these landlords is trustworthy. Can you guess who? There's an advertisement near Mrs. Gray's apartment. This property is for sale. Therefore, she probably lied about the long-term lease. And now, let's take a closer look at Oliver's ceiling. It's leaking. Therefore, his apartment is not in perfect condition. Liar! Sally's kitten ran away. She's been looking for her pet all day long. Suddenly, Sally meets her neighbor holding her kitten. He says, "I'll give your pet back only if you crack my riddle. I'm the last thing you take off when you go to bed. What am I?" Ready to hear the correct answer? I'm your feet, and you take them off the floor. Sally brings her kitten to the vet for a checkup. There, she meets two doctors, but only one of them is a real vet doctor. Can you spot who exactly? Real doctors usually wear gloves at work, but the guy on the left doesn't wear any, although he's holding a dog. Sally wants to get a job in a magic shop. The owner gives her a test assignment to find a love potion on this shelf. Sally is very confused because the recipes are too complicated. Luckily, Sally's possible future coworker, Glenda, agrees to give Sally a hint. She provides her with a bunch of recipes, and now Sally needs to figure out the correct one by herself. She only knows that a love potion should contain these 5 ingredients. Can you help her find the right bottle? Only the third bottle has all the required ingredients, so Sally should grab it. Sally succeeds and gets the job. Now her task is to go to the storage and find a fake mirror. Can you help her? Only the second mirror shows the correct reflection, so the remaining 2 are fake. Sally and Glenda get hungry and order some food. Their meals are almost identical, but in fact, they have 3 differences. Can you spot them? Here they are.
Now, Carol was invited to a Halloween party in an abandoned house. Her friends asked if she was up for a challenge, and she said yes. Soon enough, she was locked inside a room. In this room, there was 1 door and 3 light switches next to it. Behind the door was an empty closet with nothing but a light bulb. Her task was to figure out which switch controls the light bulb inside the closet. She could flip the switches in whatever way she wanted, but once she opened the door, she couldn't touch the switches anymore. After some minutes of thinking, she was able to get it right. How did Carol do it? Okay, let's go step by step. She flipped switch number 1 and then waited a few minutes. She flipped it back to off and then immediately flipped switch number 2. Then she opened the door and checked the light. The bulb was off, so she discovered that it wasn't switch number 2 that controlled the light. So she decided to touch the bulb to test if it was hot or cold. If the bulb had been cold, that would have meant that switch number 3 controlled it. But the bulb was hot, so that meant that switch number 1 controlled 1. Way to go, Carol! To get back to the party, Carol had to solve another riddle. There were 2 hourglasses in front of her. One hourglass measures 7 minutes, and the other one measures 4 minutes. She needed to time 9 minutes using both hourglasses. How could she do it? First, she turned both hourglasses at the same time. By the time the 4-minute glass finished, there were still 3 minutes left on the other one. She flipped the 4-minute glass again. When the 7-minute glass was empty, there was 1 minute left on the other glass. And once the 4-minute glass emptied again, there was 1 minute's worth of sand at the bottom half of the 7-minute timer. She flipped it over again, so there was 1 minute worth of sand on the top of the glass. And when the 7-minute timer finally emptied again, 9 minutes elapsed in total. Now look at this party scene. Everyone is dancing in their Halloween costumes and having an enjoyable time. You've been told that one of these people is a real vampire. Can you figure out who it is? Let's see. The guy on the left is drinking something red, but he has a shadow, so he can't be a real vampire. The second lady looks creepy, could be her, but if you look closely at the mirror on the wall, you'll see her reflection, so it can't be her. And we can also see the reflection of the fourth guy in the mirror. This only leaves one lady left. She must be the real vampire. Anna sat down to watch her favorite TV show. She made some popcorn, turned on the TV, and nestled comfortably to binge-watch an entire season. Her cat Pepper sat down next to her, but after 5 minutes of screen time, Anna suddenly passed out. Look at the image. Can you guess what happened there? Anna's cat Pepper got scared with the loud thump that came from the TV. It jumped on top of Anna and it scared the life out of her. That's why she passed out. Brendan was camping alone in a remote location. He left his campsite and hiked 3 miles south. Then he turned east and hiked for another 3 miles. After that, he turned north and hiked for another 3 miles. After walking 9 miles, he was back to the exact same point from where he had left off. Plus, he got there just in time to find a bear trying to open his tent and steal his food. Look at the image. Can you guess the only place in the world where Brendan could be right now? It's the North Pole. That's the only place where you can hike for 3 miles south, east, and north and end up exactly where you left off. Fraser bought a cozy home in Vancouver. On a sunny day, he decided to take his dog out for a walk. When he let his dog off the leash, it ran extremely far away from him. At some point, the dog was opposite him across a huge lake. Fraser called his dog, who managed to cross safely to the other side of the lake without getting wet or using a boat. Can you guess how the dog managed to do it? Well, that's a trick question, but the dog could easily cross the lake since it was frozen. Your best friend invited you for brunch at a place called Wally's World. As soon as you arrive there, the hostess tells you that you need to solve a riddle to get inside. She tells us that there is only one rule at Wally's World. Over there is pizza with cheese, but no pizza with sausage. There is pepper, but no salt. There is a door, yet no entrance or exit. With this information, can you guess what the law is? Everything in Wally's World must contain double letters. So things such as pizza, pepper, and cheese are allowed inside. Whew! That sure wasn't obvious, huh? On a snowy winter afternoon, Dr. Brown was resting in front of the fireplace. Suddenly, somebody threw a snowball at his window. The hit was so strong that the glass shattered. Dr. Brown stood up just in time to see 3 neighborhood boys running away. They were brothers with the names John Smith, Mark Smith, and Dave Smith. The next day, a paper note was left on Dr. Brown's door. There it was written, a question mark, then Smith. He threw the snowball. Dr. Brown knew immediately which brother had done it. Can you figure it out too? It was Mark. You see, the note said, "Question Mark Smith." He threw the snowball. But the boys were clever and put a question mark instead to test Dr. Brown's detective abilities. Henry was backpacking through Brazil by himself. One evening at around 8 p.m., he got very hungry and decided to look for a cozy restaurant to have some dinner. He walked into a traditional restaurant only to find a customer and a waiter arguing over something. The customer said that he had ordered clam soup, while the waiter was saying he had only ordered a cup of tea. Henry saw something that immediately showed him who was lying. Can you find out too? The customer is lying. Behind him, there's a huge sign that says the restaurant only serves soup from 1 to 4 p.m. Since it was 8 p.m. in the evening, the waiter would have never accepted the customer's order in the first place. Cheryl ran into her house extremely worried. "I set off as soon as I heard the news," she told the police officer. "I was at my parents' house in another town. What's happened to my husband?" "Well," the police said, "somebody hurt Mr. Moffat, and he ended up in the hospital. He's going to be okay, but we still need to find out who did this to him." The police officer has questioned 3 suspects so far. Mr. Moffat's secretary said, "I was sent to visit Mr. Moffat's business partner in the morning. Some important documents needed signatures." The cook said, "I haven't left the kitchen today. Mr. Moffat wanted me to prepare a meal for him and his wife." The housekeeper said, "I didn't hear anything today. I was doing some household chores all day long. After that, I was so tired, I decided to take a nap." The police officer realized who the culprit was in no time. Can you figure out who did it? It was the cook. Mr. Moffat didn't ask him to cook anything for his wife, since she had been out of town all along.
Matt buys a new house. In the basement, he discovers 3 signed boxes and a note. It says that one of the boxes contains $1 million. The 2 other boxes are empty, according to the note. Only one of the 3 messages written on the boxes is true. On the first box, it said that the cash is not there. The second box has a similar message: the cash is not here. And the third box says that the cash is in the second box. If you were Matt, which bag would you choose? Matt should choose the first bag, as we know only one of the clues is true. So the money should be in the first bag. Matt walks out of his house and goes to the garden. He pulls out his right hand. Suddenly, a bee lands on it. What's in Matt's eye? Beauty. Why? Because beauty is in the eye of the bee holder. In the garden, Matt takes 2 pictures. Can you spot 3 differences between them? Here they are. Matt returns home and figures out that someone has broken into his house, and the thief has just left. How did Matt figure this out? Someone turned on his electric stove and put a plastic bag on top. The plastic is only half melted, so the thief must have left a few seconds ago. Matt goes to his favorite vegan restaurant as usual on Fridays. He orders a slice of pizza, puts it on a table, and leaves for a couple of minutes to wash his hands. Then Matt comes back and finds out that his pizza is gone. He interrogates 3 customers nearby. Harold says, "I'm not hungry, so I didn't even look at your food. I came here for the sake of coffee. Bella says, I was having a video call with my boyfriend. He lives in another country, so we go on virtual dates every Sunday. Distance is so exhausting. And Anna says, I was taking pictures of my food, so I didn't look around. You can check them out if you don't believe me. After hearing about what they had to say, Matt knows for sure who's a liar. What about you? According to Bella, she goes on virtual dates every Sunday. But it's Friday. Liar! Matt's girlfriend Erica is visiting him in his lab. Suddenly, she faces two identical Matts. Can you help her figure out who's a clone? The guy on the right has a scar on his arm. Meanwhile, the clone doesn't have any because his skin is brand new. Matt goes to the mall and buys a bat and a ball for $1.10 in total. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? Nope, the correct answer is not 10 cents. It's actually a little less. A ball costs 5 cents and the bat $1.05. And together they total $1.10. Someone robbed Matt's lab. The thief stole the cloning device and he's going to hand it over tonight. This is a great opportunity to catch the criminal. The police figure out the approximate place where to look for the device. They decide to question several people nearby. Greg says, the garbage truck has just emptied the overhead trash cans.
Jeff says, I'm in charge of these trash cans. I checked all the cans next to the yellow ones and found nothing interesting.
And Bill just points at all the trash cans that someone approached today. Can you help the police find the trash can with the stolen device? First of all, we need to calculate the top cans. And now let's check all the remaining trash cans which people were approaching. The next step is to remove those next to the yellow ones. And here it is, the trash can we've been looking for. After the robbery, Matt decides to lock his lab door with a password. There are 4 buttons with different images: orange, banana, apple, and tomato. Can you guess which button opens the door? The odd one out is the tomato because all the others are fruits, so it should open the door. A priceless crystal disappeared from the local science museum. The thief left no trace behind. After analyzing the museum's security cameras, Matt invites 3 suspects for an interrogation. The security guard says, I only left my post once during lunchtime. I can swear that the crystal was still there when I came back. The museum curator says, I spent the day guiding a tour of foreign scientists. They came to see the crystal at the beginning of the tour. It was still shining bright in its place. One of the visitors says, I only popped in for a quick visit. I didn't even pass through the room where the crystal was kept. After hearing their stories, Matt knows for sure who the thief is. What about you? It was the visitor. He hid the crystal in his sleeve. Matt's brother Greg arrives at his house to eat together. He yells, Matt, the microwave is on and it's already defrosting our dinner. Greg hears Matt's reply from the bathroom. Could you please check the microwave and let me know how much time is left? Greg grabs his phone and calls the police. He reports a dangerous situation involving his brother. How did he know? Greg is blind, so his brother would have asked him to look at the microwave because Matt knows that Greg can't see. This made Greg suspicious, and that's why he called the police. The next day, Matt wakes up in a secret abandoned lab. He wanders around and finds 3 doors leading to freedom, but each door is hiding an unpleasant surprise. Here's a creepy monster sitting in a cage behind the first door. It's very hungry and angry. There's a bunch of venomous snakes crawling behind the second door, and the lights are off, so Matt won't be able to see them. And behind the door, there's a huge fire. Which way is more or less safe? He should choose the first door. The monster is in a cage, so Matt can just pass by and escape. Matt manages to escape and enters the nearest gas station. He spots 3 odd things about this place right away. Can you see them too? The poster with the engine oil advertisement offers a 0% discount. The cashier has an octopus tentacle instead of hands. See this package of chips? It says they have the flavor of spiders. That's weird. The cashier agrees to help Matt get home if he manages to solve his riddle.
I came first on Earth, but second in heaven. I also come twice a week, but I'm found just once a year. I stay away for months, but you can find me in February. What am I?
The correct answer is the letter E. Matt returns home and finds out that someone has left homemade cookies on the kitchen table. He examines all the doors and windows. He finds no signs of a break-in. Matt decides to question 3 suspects who have a key. His mother says, "I spent all day with my yoga teacher, and my class ended 10 minutes ago, so I didn't have time for cookies." The plumber says, "I fixed the kitchen sink in the morning and left for home. Why would I bring you any gifts?" And Matt's girlfriend Erica says, "I visited your house a couple of hours ago to drop off some shopping bags and left for the gym. I didn't see any cookies." Who's lying? The plumber. Take a closer look at the kitchen sink. It has no tap. Therefore, he lied. Matt is walking in the local restaurant and gets lost in a maze. He has only 15 seconds to get out before it starts raining. Can you help him find the right direction? Ready to see the answer? Here's the correct route.
Alrighty, here's the new portion of mind-bending riddles for you, quick-witted detective. Find that magnifying glass of yours, and let's get to work.
Yeah.
Tom disappeared at 10 p.m. on Friday in the fall. A police officer questioned his 4 friends. She suspected one of them had something to do with this disappearance. She asked them all what they had been doing at the time. Adam said he had been choosing an outfit for a date. Daniel was getting ready for a party, which was to take place at his apartment. Sophia said she had been relaxing by doing yoga before her night shift at work. And Jake was watching birds in the park. After questioning the suspects, the police officer arrested one of Tom's friends. Who was it? It was Jake. At 10 p.m. in the fall, it's too dark to see birds outside. Imagine being stuck in Antarctica. You're starting to run out of food, so you decide to scan your surroundings. The snow is so bright, it's literally blinding. At one point, you come across a large fragment of bone with a wide crack enough to fit a knife. You think the bone might come in handy later and take it with you. What's the best way to use it? Crack it and use it as your second knife? Make an eyewear mask? Make a flute to distract yourself from this dire situation? You should choose the second option. An eyewear mask can protect you from a big problem: snow blindness. Sunlight is reflected off the snow and ice in Antarctica and is likely to cause serious eye problems. Okay, this time you're trapped in a large abandoned castle. The lights are out, and there seems to be nobody around. You see 3 doors leading out of the creepy castle to safety. But behind the first door, there's a room filled with venomous snakes and spiders. Behind the second door, there's a sheer drop with sharp spikes at the bottom. And the third door opens to an electrified moat. Which door will you risk going through? Surprisingly, the safest option is the third door. You see, the castle is abandoned, and since nobody has lived there for years, there isn't likely to be electricity. The likelihood of the moat still being electrified is very, very small. You'll be able to swim across the moat safely. Let's say that in some mysterious way, you find yourself in a battle arena. 3 creatures are waiting for you, and you need to fight one of them to survive. The first monster has the head of a rattlesnake and the body of a giant ferret. The second one has the body of a gorilla and the head of an alligator. And the third creature has the face and body of a great white shark and the tail and claws of a bear. So, which monster would you choose? The first 2 monsters would be extremely dangerous opponents. Imagine how agile and venomous the snake ferret could be. And the gorilla gator would be too strong for you to defeat. As for the shark bear, you know that sharks have gills and can't breathe on land. So you just need to wait a bit, and this opponent would get out of your way on its own. Imagine a robber is trying to enter your house. You can only defend yourself through the letterbox in your door while they're trying to sneak a peek inside your house. What kind of defense would you choose? A tarantula and a 4-foot-long stick? A 3-foot-long bamboo pole and some frozen peas? Or a leaf blower, elastic band, empty paper roll, and several dozen fire ants? The problem with the stick is that it's too short, and there's a chance that the tarantula will get back to you. Uh-oh. Sending frozen peas into the robber's face probably won't be enough to stop the criminal. So, pick the third option. The leaf blower will send the ants into the thief's face through the paper roll, and it will most likely scare the criminal away. How about this mystery? A girl was 10 on her last birthday, but she will be 12 on her next birthday. How is it possible? Well, the girl is celebrating her 11th birthday today. At school, in one of the classes, there were 4 pairs of twins. One day, all the students came to a school event with their parents, and it turned out that there were 85 people in total. Can you figure out how many students there are in the class? Since each pair of twins most likely have different parents, 4 pairs of twins and their parents make up 16 people. The remaining 69 people are ordinary students and their parents. Each of the non-twin students has 2 parents, so the number of non-twin students is 23. So in total, there are 31 students in the class. Stephen called the police to report his valuables were missing. When the police arrived, the man told him his story. "I went on a camping trip alone. I just got there and set up my tent when it started to rain heavily. I hurried to find some dry firewood. I left my bag with my wallet and all the documents inside the tent. When I came back, everything was gone." The police officers didn't believe Stephen and fined him for making a false call. How did they understand the man was lying? Stephen said he had set up the tent before it started to rain. But then, why is there a big puddle inside? Two friends, Anne and Mary, went for a walk. Suddenly, it started to rain heavily. The girls saw a seemingly abandoned house and decided to take shelter there. When it stopped raining, the friends realized they were very hungry. So they went different ways to find some food. Anne saw an apple tree and immediately ate an apple. All of a sudden, she turned into a tree herself. Half an hour later, Mary got to the same spot, searching for fruit and her friend. That's when she heard someone say, "Your friend has been turned into a tree. You must find this tree to bring her back. You only have one chance. If you get it wrong, your friend will remain a tree forever." Mary was terrified. Can you help her find out which tree is her friend? To crack this riddle, you need to think outside the box. Since it rained half an hour ago, all the trees in the forest are wet. The only tree that isn't wet is Mary's friend Anne. Now, you need to figure out the logic in the order of the following words: fun, blue, bee, more, dive, pix, barren, date, shrine, then. Actually, it's not hard at all as soon as you say these words out loud one by one. You'll immediately notice that every word rhymes with the number that specifies its numerical order. Fun 1, blue 2, bee 3, and so on. On a beautiful sunny morning, a vampire woke up pretty early and went to the bathroom to shave. He was in the middle of the process when he noticed in the mirror that he had cut himself. He had to go and look for his first aid kit. What's wrong with this story? Well, the main problem is that vampires don't reflect in mirrors. Look at this picture closely. Can you guess who this cute puppy belongs to? A little hint. Pay attention to all the details. You never know what can help you. The dog's owner is the boy in the middle. He's the only one who isn't trying to pet the puppy. And now, can you figure out what's wrong in this picture? Once again, pay attention to the tiniest details. Tick-tock, your time is running out. The wrong detail in this picture is this colorful parrot. How did the bird get there? Parrots aren't known for their love of winter.
Lily was walking home from school one day when a huge portal opened up before her. She was curious, so she decided to walk through it. The portal took her straight to the castle of the Great Zormir, a cool magician that had harnessed the power of thousands of Philosopher's Stones. As soon as Lily crossed the portal, he closed it. He told the girl that she had been chosen to take part in a great quest and that she could only leave the castle if she agreed to play his game. She had to answer all of his riddles correctly, and only then he would let her go. For the first riddle, he showed her this image and asked her to figure out what word was hidden in this illusion. Can you help her out? It's the word sun. Way to go, both of you. Zormir liked to play with trickery and illusion, so for his next trick, he called a chef. The guy walked in with a cart filled with Spanish empanadas, and Lily's mouth started watering. He told Lily that she had to eat all of the empanadas, except one, and that she should choose wisely, because that special empanada was poisoned. Take a look at the image. Can you help Lee choose which one she shouldn't eat? Let's see. That one on the bottom left corner looks suspicious. It has a green fog coming out of it. It's probably from some heavy type of poison, isn't it?
Oh my god!
Whew! Lily got out of that one okay. Next, Zormir showed Lily a strange painting. He changed the image on the painting to show one of his illusions. Can you figure out which word is hidden here? It's the word never. To get to the next level, Lily had to guess the answer to this simple riddle. What has keys but can't open locks and speaks without a mouth? It took the girl a while to figure it out, but she got it right. Do you know what she answered? It's a piano. Lily was taken to an empty room in the castle. It had nothing except 4 doors. The great Zormir told Lily that she had to find a time machine behind one of these doors and left her a clue. Trust only one of the inscriptions and it will lead you to the treasure. On each door, there was a sign. The sign on the door A said, "It's behind B or C." The sign behind door B said, "It's behind A or D." Door C said, "It's in here." And door D claimed, "It isn't here." Can you guess which door Lily opened? Let's see how this would work. If the time machine was behind door A, then both B and D would be true. But if it was behind door B, then both A and D would be true. If it was behind door C, then A, C, and D are all true. But if the time machine was behind door D, then the statements on all the other doors were false, except for that on door B. This matched the rules, so it was behind door D. Lily opened the door and found the time machine. Next to it, there was a super modern digital lock asking for a code of access. The catch was, as well as numbers, there were emojis. Lily had no idea which combination to press, but she saw that Zormir left a clue on a paper note. 2 plus 2. 3 plus 3. 7 plus 7. Can you help Lily out here? This is a tricky one. What she needed to do is overlay the numbers on top of each other. Once she's done that, she should flip the numbers on the second row. This way, she'd get the image of a fish, of the number 8, and of a triangle. So the correct combination to unlock it was the fish emoji, the number 8, and a triangle. Yikes. The great Zormir had set the time machine back to prehistoric ages. So Lily was zapped straight back to the ancient past. Take a look at the image. Can you spot the other time traveler in the picture? Ah, that's the one right there. He's holding a flashlight. I mean, those certainly didn't exist back in the day. Lily went to talk to the other time traveler to see if he knew how she could get back to her normal timeline. He would only answer her question if she answered his riddle correctly. He asked her, "What has a heart that doesn't beat and a bank that doesn't hold a cent?" She was extremely confused by this one, but she answered, "A deck of cards." The guy was impressed and told Lily that to go back to her normal timeline, she had to figure out what was hidden in another of Zormir's illusions. Can you guess what word is hidden here? It's the word dog. Way to go.
Yes!
Lily got back to her normal timeline, but instead of going back to the castle, she found herself stranded on a deserted island. There was a note from Zormir saying, "The game is just getting started. You need to find the slang's witch and ask for her help." Take a look at the image. Can you find something that might help Lily find the witch? You sure have an eye for detail. There are 4 pieces of torn paper that together form a map. The map leads the way to the witch's abode. Walking through the forest on her way to the witch's house, Lily runs into a bear. She has to make a quick decision. She can either run away from the bear as fast as she can, or she can raise her hands and walk steadily backward until the bear is out of sight. What is Lily's best option? If she ran, the bear might feel under attack and end up hurting her. She should choose the second option. Finally, that looks like a witch's house. She knocks and the witch lets her inside. She asks the witch for help, but the witch is worried about something else. Earlier that day, she was working on a new love potion with the help of her elves, when she noticed that her precious hawk feather was missing. She asked if Lily could find out which elf had taken it. Lily said yes, and began to interview the elves. Arian said that he was giving apples to the fairies halfway through the making of the potion, and that before that, he made sure that the witch had every ingredient she needed for the spell. Elowen said he was at another cauldron testing an anti-aging potion. He also said he was sure to see the feather before the witch started the job. Ilaria was sorting out the bad herbs from the herbs all afternoon and didn't notice anything weird going on in the house. Lily took some time to think about the elves' testimony and finally figured out the answer. Can you tell who did it? It wasn't any of the elves. Lily noticed that the feather had fallen down and was stuck in a crack on the floor. The witch must have let it fall down and didn't notice it on the floor. The witch was happy with Lily's help and told her she would help Lily run away from the great Zormir. She opened 3 portals and let Lily choose the one she wanted to go through. The first portal would lead Lily to New York City. The second portal would lead her directly to her school. And the last portal would lead her to a beautiful island in the Bahamas. Take a look at the image. Which portal should she choose? Well, it could be fun to visit New York City, but there's a huge snowstorm going on. And why would anyone want to go to an island surrounded by sharks? Lily should just go back to school. She skipped enough classes.
Take a look at this image for a second. Which prisoner do you think is rich? Let's see. It can't be the first guy since his food is partially rotten. It looks like the other inmates don't really like him, and he doesn't have a lot of power inside the prison. The second guy, while he looks super wealthy, his jewelry is actually fake. This leaves us with the last guy, and bingo, it's him! Look, he's got a laptop under his plate and a phone under his arm. He's the richest for sure. Susie was invited to take part in a pop-up riddle show. She needed to answer one question correctly to win $1,000. She was extremely nervous when the game show host asked her this question. How many numbers are on a clock? Can you help Susie figure out this one? The answer looks obvious, but it's not. You need to do some math. The correct answer is 15. It doesn't work if you simply stare at the clock and say there are 12 numbers. You see, the numbers 10, 11, and 12 are made up of smaller numerical numbers, so the correct way to count it would be in a clockwise fashion. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 0, 1, and 1. Phew! A local thief was running around playing tricks on some neighborhood stores. On a Saturday morning, he walked inside Mrs. Buchanan's shop and stole a $100 bill from the counter when she wasn't looking. He grabbed a shopping cart and filled it with $70 worth of goods. He paid for everything with the $100 bill he had stolen and even got $30 back as change. How much money did the store owner lose in all of this? The shop owner just lost $100. I know it sounds too simple, but here's the deal. In total, the store owner lost $70 worth of merchandise plus the $30 she gave as change. So yes, she lost $100. Maya was roaming through the multiverses when she ran into a gatekeeper guarding a green door. She said she needed to go through the door in order to access her original timeline. But the gatekeeper would only let through those who answered his riddle. He told her that some things can go through the green door while others cannot, and she needed to figure out what all of the things had in common. And then he tells her, "You can come through the door with a carton of eggs, but not with a box of donuts. You can pass through it with a gallon of skim milk, but not a quart of it. You can bring with you some bamboo, but not jade, orchids, philodendron, or ivy. Sadly, you can't come through with dogs and cats unless they're still puppies and kittens. Can you help Maya figure out the pattern in common with all of these things?" Well, the key to solving this riddle can be found in all 4 of the words that make up the phrase green glass door, aka double letters. If something is spelled with double letters, it can go through the green glass door. If there are no double letters in its name, then it can't. Mark went to the farmer's market to do his weekly grocery shopping. He stopped by the egg stand, and the owner was feeling chatty, so he challenged Mark to guess the answer to a riddle. He told Mark,
"If I had 4 eggs and a thief gave me 3, and my rooster laid 5 more, how many eggs do I have?"
"Can you help Mark figure out the answer here?" I'll get one thing out of the way. It's not a simple math problem. It doesn't work if you just add everything up. But here's the first problem. Roosters don't lay eggs, so those eggs are out of the equation. And then if you read correctly, the man said, "If I had 4 eggs," which means that he had 0 eggs to begin with. So the correct answer is 3. The 3 eggs that the thief gave him. 4 prisoners from a high-security prison were taken to a deserted beach to do some community service. The warden wanted to have some fun, so he lined them up in a single-file line and separated prisoner A from the other 3 with the help of a brick wall. He gave each prisoner a hat, either black or white, without telling them which color they each got. In total, there were 2 black hats and 2 white hats. He told them that all prisoners would be sentenced to prison for life, except they could guess correctly which color of hat they had in under 10 minutes. The prisoners weren't allowed to confer with each other, and they weren't allowed to move around or change positions. They got super nervous, of course, but they had no other option than to play the game. Luckily, just before the clock struck 10 minutes, one of the prisoners guessed correctly their hat color. Can you guess which prisoner it was? P.S. There is only one correct answer. If you guessed prisoner C, then you got it right. Let's see why. This riddle can only be solved through a process of elimination, and two of the prisoners, prisoners A and B, can be eliminated right off the bat. That's because neither one of them can see any of the other prisoners, so neither possesses any information with which to make a more certain guess. That just leaves us prisoners C and D. When prisoner D remains silent and doesn't take a guess, prisoner C deduces his own hair color. He deduces that he and prisoner B must be wearing different colored hats. And since prisoner B was wearing a white hat, he guessed he is wearing a black hat. Yikes! This fried my hat off. Betty was in her last year of high school and she decided to take photography as an extracurricular activity. For her latest assignment, she needed to take an urban picture and present it to the class. However, since Betty was also organizing a big graduation trip, she didn't have time to do the assignment. Instead, she decided to Photoshop an image and show it in class. The teacher and students immediately saw that the picture wasn't real. How could they tell? Well, because that person over there has two heads. It looks pretty cool, but that's kind of a difficult phenomenon to find here on this planet. Three people decided to spend their vacations in Antarctica. Bianca had some trouble with the harsh weather, but felt it was worth it in the end. Pablo had a great time photographing the penguins for his social media page. And Helena got to do some fishing while she was there. On the last day of their trip, passing through airport security, one of them got caught trying to take a penguin with them in their backpack. Take a look at the picture. Can you tell who it was? Let's see what we have here. Well, is that a penguin's feet poking out of Helena's backpack? It sure is. Guess she did more than just fishing during her vacation. Yikes! December 5th is Bloomfield Town's Contest Day. For this year, the mayor picked bakery as the theme, so contestants needed to bake the best dessert to win. The only rule was that the bakers couldn't use sugar in their recipes, only natural sweeteners. When the mayor went to judge the 4 finalists and pick the best dessert, he immediately disqualified one of the bakers, saying they had cheated. And he did that without even tasting the desserts. Take a look at the contestants and see if you can spot the cheater. Look at the third woman in the row. Her cake is literally covered in powdered sugar. She was disqualified because she broke the no sugar rule. Neil was one of the best watchmakers in town. He got a call from the police station one day, asking him for help to solve a crime. 2 burglars were caught robbing shops in town. Amongst the things they stole, there were 2 watches. One of the burglars claimed that the watch they stole was a fake, so the police contacted Neil to see if that was really true. Take a look at both watches. Can you help Neil figure out which one is fake and which one is real? The watch on the left is a fake. If you look closely, you'll see that the miniature arm is too long, so it can't pass around the entire clock when it moves. Maya was an undercover police officer. On a Saturday night, she was off duty and decided to go to the movies. When she arrived, she saw 2 women who looked pretty suspicious. She remembered that the police were tracking down a girl who had escaped from prison the week before. Take a look at both women. Can you tell if one has escaped prison recently? It's the lady on the left. Her prison uniform is peeking through her coat. I mean, she should have at least changed clothes by now, right? Beth arrived at school and one of her best friends showed her a picture. She told Beth that if she got the answer correctly, she would get a week's supply of free chocolate. The friend said that one of the people in the picture wasn't human. Can you help Beth figure out the answer? It's the boy in the middle. He doesn't have a shadow, which means he's definitely not human. Ruby was traveling around India when she decided to stop for some tea. As soon as she walked inside the tea shop, the owner placed 2 teapots in front of her. He told her she would get a free cup of tea if she could figure out his riddle. He told her that the first teapot contained enough tea for 40 cups and asked to figure out, just by looking at the pot, how many cups of tea it could carry inside. Take a look at the image. Can you help Ruby figure out the answer? This is a tricky one. Probably the second teapot can only carry around 20 cups of tea. If you look closely, you'll see that the outlets of the first teapot is located in the middle of the pot. But the outlet of the second pot is located right at the bottom, so even if the pot is taller, it can't hold more water than the first one. After water hits the level of the outlet, it'll just start overflowing. Mary was walking in an enchanted forest when she met Randy, a magical unicorn. Mary asked the unicorn for some information, but he refused to talk to her unless she solved one of his riddles. He was a trickster and liked confusing people with his riddles. He told Mary that in a nearby field there were tigers and sheep. Usually one tiger could catch 3 sheep in 3 minutes. So he asked her how long it would take for 100 tigers to catch 100 sheep. Can you help Mary figure out the answer? It would still take 3 minutes, because each tiger is still catching 1 sheep in 3 minutes. It doesn't matter if it's 3 tigers or 100. The unicorn was surprised by Mary's abilities and gave her another riddle to solve. He asked her to name the 5 days of the week without saying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. She also couldn't say whether it was the first day of the week or the last. What do you think Mary answered here? She said, the day before yesterday, yesterday, today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. Clever girl, huh? Brianna was traveling on business, and her company put her in one of the best hotels in town. She arrived from work late at night, exhausted. She was getting ready to go to bed when she heard a knock on the door. When she looked through the peephole, she saw a man standing outside. The man said he was sorry for bothering her, but the hotel database had crashed and he needed to recheck some of her information. Brianna said she would be back in a moment, got away from the door, and called security. She said there was someone in the hotel trying to rob her. Take a look at the image. How did she know the man was a robber? Look at the man's name tag. It's a female name. He is surely not the real hotel manager. Luca decided to throw a party for his best friends. He invited over 20 people to the party, but he only bought 9 candies. He told his friends he would leave the candies inside a pretty little box, and they could each get 1 candy. 9 people took 9 candies, but 1 candy was still in the box. How could that be possible? It's pretty simple. The last person took the candy and the box. This way, 1 candy remained in the box. Noah reported to the police that someone had stolen his red motorbike the previous night, right out of his garage. The police started to search for it and tracked 3 main suspects. Take a look at them. Which one stole Noah's motorbike? It's this guy on the right. Look closely. His motorbike is painted, but the paint is dripping and one can spot the old red color. He must have stolen it and painted it in a different color so as not to attract any attention. But you caught him. It's the finale of the Big Money Buzz Show, and Natalie is faced with a difficult task. There are 3 fish bowls, each one of them containing a different amount of gold bars inside. If she manages to put her hand inside one of the bowls and take it out, she can keep the gold bar. The first bowl has scalding hot water inside of it. The second is filled with flesh-burning acid. And the last bowl has a couple of venomous scorpions walking around. Which bowl should she choose? Natalie should just wait until the water cools down and grab the gold bar from the first bowl. Smart, huh? Bobby was blindfolded and put into a shaky van. When he woke up, he was alone in a dark, empty room. There was nobody there, but there were 3 envelopes on the floor. A post-it on top of the envelope said, "Each envelope contains a red capsule and 2 statements. In one of these envelopes, both statements are false. In another envelope, both statements are true. You have to choose the correct capsule to get out of this alive." He opened the first envelope, saw a capsule and the message, 1. Don't eat this candy. 2. Take the candy from the second envelope. On the second envelope, the note said, 1. Don't take the candy from the first envelope. 2. Take the candy from the third envelope. And the last envelope said, 1. Don't eat this candy. 2. Take the candy from the first envelope. Which capsule should Bobby take? He should trust the candy from the third envelope. Let's see why. The first message of the first envelope is true, while the second is false. Both messages from the second envelope are true. This leaves us with 2 false statements on the third envelope. The manager of a gift shop got a call from the police station. The police told him there was a burglar on the loose. He dressed up as the Joker and was robbing local shops. But since it was Halloween, a lot of people were walking dressed up as the Joker. At that moment, 4 Jokers entered the shop. The manager got suspicious, so he made the people stand in a line while he examined which one of them was the criminal. Take a look at the image. Can you guess which Joker is the real thief? The thief is the second Joker on the left. Take a look at his shoes. They're much bigger than the other shoes. He must be hiding something inside of it.
Hey, dear detective. It's time you apply your skills to solve the toughest brain teasers we've got. Look at these hands. All of them seem to belong to wealthy people. But it's just an illusion. Your first case is to figure out which person is indeed rich. Have you noticed the brand names on the accessories on the left and the right hands are misspelled? These luxury items must be fake. As for the hand in the middle, it's decorated with a real gold bracelet. It most likely belongs to a rich person. Now, look at these travelers and their bags very attentively. Can you spot a smuggler? Why would a blind person need a flashlight in his luggage? That's suspicious. He must be the criminal we're looking for. Which of these people is poor? Pay attention to the guy with an iPhone. The apple on the back is whole, which means the phone is fake. How about these people? Who is richer? The man on the left looks like a rich businessman, but he might be pretending. At the same time, the guy with green hair looks very casual. But he's holding a brand new laptop and expensive headphones. He's likely to be richer. Can you figure out which of these athletes is poor? It must be the blonde guy who's wearing a fake Adidas shirt. Or should I say, a Bebas. You wake up in a room with 3 doors. Suddenly, someone starts knocking on each of them. You come up to each door in turn and sneak a peek through the peephole. Behind each door, there's a police officer. Do you know which door is safe to open? You can open the 3rd door without any worries. The first man doesn't show his badge and has a knife tucked under his belt. The second man has weird stars on his uniform. As for the 3rd police officer, he is the only one with identical stars on his hat and badge without any hidden weapon. He's your safest option. These people look homeless, but one of them isn't poor. Who is it? Look at the guy with a cart. He's got car keys. Now this task is tough. Which of these ladies doesn't have a lot of money? Think twice before answering. The lady in pink buys only those clothes that are on sale. She might be poor. Doris was having a beach vacation with her friend Teresa. One morning, the young women were sunbathing near the water. Teresa went to a cafe to get some lemonade while Doris went swimming. When she came back, she saw that her smartphone, which she had left on her beach towel, was gone. She asked a man sunbathing nearby if he had seen her smartphone. He answered that he'd been sleeping the whole time. At this moment, Teresa came back with the lemonade. She looked around and immediately understood where Doris's phone was. Who took it? It was the neighbor. Before the accident, the spade was lying on his left. Now it's on the right. There's also a suspicious pile of sand near the spade now. The man must have hidden the phone in the sand, hoping to dig it out later. Look at these guys attentively. One of them is not living alone. Who is it? The man on the right. He's got 2 toothbrushes. Joe had a friend, Randy, who never answered questions directly. Once, Joe sent Randy a message inviting him to join their common friends in a cafe. Randy's answer was kinda weird. Sorry, no money, job and job. Luckily, Joe knew his friend well enough to understand what he meant. But can you figure it out? Randy meant he had no money because he was in between jobs. Terry invited his friend Alice, who was studying to become a police officer, to a party. It was organized by his friend Sean. Terry was worried that there could be a thief at this party. Throughout the event, Alice was watching the guests attentively. At the end of the party, she told Terry who the thief was. Have you figured it out? It's the host, Sean. At the beginning of the party, one of the guests had a watch on his wrist, and this woman had a beautiful necklace. But at the end of the party, The watch was already on Sean's wrist, and the necklace was in the flower pot. The police were informed that one of the most wanted criminals, Carl Walker, was going to arrive in the country. According to this information, the man was going to come by plane. Unfortunately, the police knew very little about him. He was short, wearing glasses, and traveling under a false name. Detective Adams went to the airport. He detained 4 people who fit the description. They were Mr. Lewis, Mr. Relkoff, Mr. Taylor, and Mr. Wilson. Can you figure out who the criminal is? It's Mr. Relkoff. His last name is actually the criminal's last name, Walker, but with its letters mixed. Austin, a rich businessman, brought very important documents to his office. But he had a meeting and needed to leave for several hours. Austin asked his secretary to be super attentive. His competitors could try to break into his office to look at the documents. When he came back, his secretary told him everything had been quiet. But when the man looked around, he realized someone had been inside his office. The secretary eventually admitted having fallen asleep while Austin was away. How did the businessman understand someone had visited his office? The globe on his desk is now turned in the opposite direction. You're trapped in a room with no doors or windows. All of a sudden, the room starts filling with water. You check everywhere but can't find any way to turn it off. You know that help is on the way, but it's still at least 5 minutes until their arrival. You only have 2 minutes. After that, the entire room will be flooded. Obviously, you can't hold your breath for 3 minutes. You've got 3 objects, but only one of them can save your life. What should you choose? A straw, a rope, or an empty bucket? You should opt for the bucket. Put it on your head. This will create an air pocket, and you'll be able to breathe for a couple of minutes until help arrives. Carter had a fast and successfully developing company until his main investor went bankrupt. Upset, Carter went to visit his best friend Justin, who was a coffee shop owner. Justin told him that a rich businessman visited his cafe almost every day. He was there that day too. The man was very secretive and didn't have any social media accounts. Justin told Carter to go and introduce himself and pointed towards the back of the coffee shop. The guy went there and saw 3 men, but he didn't ask his friend which one was the wealthy entrepreneur. He looked at the men attentively. Can you figure out which one he needs? It isn't the guy in the middle. He has a dollar store bag. The one on the right could be rich, but he's recording an Instagram story. And the businessman isn't active on any social media. This means the man Carter needs is on the left. 3 friends agreed to hang out together on a Friday night. One of them, Brian, was tasked with bringing pizza. But the guy was running extremely late. His friends were starving. Strangely, Brian wasn't picking up their calls. But in an hour or so, he sent them a selfie. In the photo, he was standing next to his car. In the following message, he wrote he had run out of gas. He was at a gas station filling up his car. But his friends didn't believe Brian's excuses. Why? In the picture, it's clearly seen that the guy has an electric car. It doesn't need gas.
Ren comes home after work. He lives with his girlfriend Maya, but she's absent, which is strange because she works from home. Ren finds this note on the fridge. After looking through the note, he calls the police and says, Please come over. Someone kidnapped my girlfriend. How did he know? Maya left an encoded hint in this list of products. The number shows which letter you should take away from each word. I from fish, A from apple, M from watermelon, and so on. And finally, we'll get, I am kidnapped. The police search Ren's apartment for clues. They find a fresh postcard from Maya's ex-boyfriend Frank among her documents. There's a weird poem on the back of the postcard. Frank is a literature teacher. He was always good at writing, and he couldn't make such mistakes. The officer reads the poem and realizes that Frank kidnapped Maya. How did he know? Take the first letter of each word and you'll get Maya is mine. The police decide to issue a search warrant, but Ren can't wait. He goes to Frank's house to save Maya. On the way, he sees these 3 people in the neighborhood. Can you spot who's suspicious? The blind guy. How would he use this common camera? Ren tries to open Frank's door, but it's locked. He has to enter a 6-number code. Can you help him? This picture is a hint. If we count all the points of intersection of the circles, we'll get the code 237640. Ren enters Frank's house and spots 3 odd details right away. Can you see them too? The carpet is flying. There's a boot boiling on the stove. Take a look at Maya's portrait on the wall. Her eyes are moving. Ren finds Maya in the basement. She looks scared. Frank pops out of nowhere and offers Ren a deal. I'm gonna tell you 3 facts about Maya. If you manage to spot 1 lie, I'll let both of you go. Ren agrees. Maya and I met at college. Snakes are her biggest phobia, and Maya was the first woman who I kissed. Can you help Ren spot 1 lie? Maya is wearing snake earrings. It's unlikely that she would wear them if the second fact was true. Frank tells Ren and Maya, okay, you can go now. You can choose one of these 3 doors. There's 1,000 venomous snakes behind the first door. There's a maze with carnivorous mutant plants behind the second door. And there's a garden with the most poisonous berries in the world behind the third door. Which way should they choose? The third one, nobody said that they have to eat the berries. Maya and Ren come home. Suddenly, a ball breaks their window. They look outside and see 5 teenagers playing basketball. One of them broke the window. Each makes 3 statements. 1 is false and 2 are true. Ken says, I didn't do it. Jessica will tell who did it. One of us is in big trouble. Love says, Mia did it. I didn't do it. I don't even like to play basketball. Victoria says, I didn't do it. Mia and I are good friends. Jessica doesn't know who did it. Mia says, Love lied when she said I broke the window. I had never seen Victoria before today. I've never broken a window in my life. And Jessica says, I saw Mia break it. I didn't break the window. I want to go home. Who broke the window? Mia's statements 1 and 3 must be true, since each player told only 1 lie. Therefore, Mia's statement 2 is false. Now the words of all the other players can then be proven true or false using this information. Since we know that Mia's statement 2 is false, Jessica's statement 1 and Love's statement 1 have to be false. Ken's statement 2 has to be false, since Jessica didn't tell who did it. So now it's obvious that Victoria did it. Maya has 2 friends, Claire and Naomi. They're both beauty bloggers. One of them is a beginner, while another has 1 million followers. Can you guess who's more popular? Naomi has more subscribers. She has a 1 million gold award from YouTube hidden on her shelf. Also, take a look at Claire's phone. She's watching Naomi's video and repeats after her. Ren invites Maya on an unusual date. They go to a farm. He takes these 2 pictures. Can you see any difference between them? Here they are. Ren's landlord is selling his apartment, so he asks Ren and Maya to move out. Ren decides to take some extra job to raise his income so that they could afford to rent a cozy cabin in the woods. He's been working as a graphic designer all his life, but now he's open to new options. Can you help him find the most reliable offer on his wall? He doesn't have experience to become a firefighter, and the second offer is for ladies only. The remaining options are good, but only the job of a forester is ideal, because it provides a free cabin, just what Ren wanted. Ren and Maya begin to pack their bags. Maya can't find these 3 items. Can you help her? Here they are. Maya and Ren are visiting the local farmer's market. Can you find a ghost among all these people? This lady with transparent legs. Finally, Ren and Maya arrived at their new cabin, but it's locked. They find this weird note on the door. Can you help them solve this mystery? Replace every letter in this note with the one after it in the alphabet, and we get Key under Rose Pot. Ren, Maya, Rose, and Mike are best friends. They gather to celebrate Thanksgiving at the cabin. They agreed to buy gifts for each other. Ren buys a little statue, Maya buys a bottle of perfume, Mike buys a watch, and Rose buys a phone. The gifts were packed in identical boxes. Finally, the friends exchange gifts. Everyone gets someone else's box. Mike got neither a statue nor perfume, and Rose got the watch. What did Ren get? Rose got the watch, so Mike could only get the phone. It means that Ren got the perfume and Maya got the statue. In the middle of the party, Ren goes to the toilet. He leaves his phone on a table. In a while, he returns and finds out that his phone is missing. Ren asks everyone just one question.
What did you do when I was in the toilet?
Rose says, I was watching a movie in the living room. The story is so sweet. Mike says, I was decorating the living room. I think I heard your phone vibrating, but I didn't bother. And Maya says, I applied makeup in the bedroom. Do you like it? Can you guess who stole the phone? It was Mike. Ren didn't mention that his phone was gone. Maya is having brunch in a cafeteria. She's the only customer. The waitress brings her food. Maya opens a pot with soup and sees a huge spider. But thankfully, it's a toy. One of these 3 cafeteria workers pranked Maya. Can you guess who? It's the guy on the left. He's the only one who doesn't hold a phone. His gadget is on the stand here, filming Maya's reaction.
Three friends, Jim, Alex, and Chris, pick hats from a box. In the box, there are 2 black hats and 1 white hat. Jim sees the hats on Alex and Chris. Alex only sees Chris's hat, and Chris can't see any hats. When asked if they know the colors of their hats, Jim and Alex both say no. Chris confidently says that he knows his hat is black. How has he figured it out? Here's how it works. Jim's no means there's at least 1 black hat between Alex and Chris. Alex says no too, indicating that he sees a black hat on Chris. If it was white, Alex would know he's wearing the black since there's only 1 white hat. So Chris is sure that his hat is black. No magic or tricks, just logic. Detective Sue finds herself entangled in a case involving the theft of precious diamonds from a vault fortified with high security measures. The list of suspects is diverse. There's a janitor, a security guard, even the CEO. Who is the thief? The thief is the janitor. Even in a high-security vault, the diamonds should still remain dust-free. The janitor's role involves cleaning them, so he had access to the jewels. On a chilly, wintry day, a figure stood in the center of someone's front yard. This individual remained in place for several weeks without any movement, and the yard's owner didn't mind it. Eventually, this person was gone. Who was he? It was a snowman. Meet Vampire Vlad. He invites his close nocturnal friends for a one-of-a-kind dinner gathering. Interestingly, the dinner party takes place during the daytime. All of his vampire companions accept the invitation without questioning it, and they arrive without encountering any problems. How on earth is this possible? Well, it turns out Vlad is the master of planning. He chose to host his vampire friends during a solar eclipse. Vampire Vlad has another story to puzzle you. One day, he found himself on a remote island. There seemed to be no humans there. To his relief, he stumbled upon a thriving garden filled with garlic. Vlad smiled with contentment. Garlic is dangerous for vampires. Then why did he laugh? That garlic garden implied the presence of a skilled gardener on the island. There was a human somewhere around. This discovery kindled Vlad's hope of a future food source. Here's the last one of the vampire-themed puzzles. In a quaint village, 3 individuals cast shadows, but one claims to be a vampire. The townsfolk wonder which of these 3 is the true vampire. Well, who is the vampire? The vampire is the one whose shadow behaves weirdly. While regular human shadows mimic people's movements, the vampire's shadow moves independently. Look, the human shadows synchronize with their steps, but the vampire shadow has a mind of its own. Steve met a tragic fate on a Saturday afternoon. His wife claims she was in the shower at that time. The chef says he was making breakfast, and the gardener was busy pruning hedges. Who is the likely criminal? It's the chef. The whole thing happened in the afternoon, but the chef said that he had been making breakfast. At a carnival, a boy made a bet with a man. The man said he could write the boy's exact weight on a piece of paper. If he succeeded, the boy would give him $50. If not, the boy would get $50. The boy thought he could always say he weighed more or less, so he agreed. However, in the end, the boy had to pay the man $50. How did the man win? The man wrote your exact weight on the paper, and that was exactly what he said he would do. A person finds themselves confined in a room with two possible escape routes. The initial exit is an arrangement of magnifying glasses that scorch anything passing through, because the sun is scorching. The second exit is guarded by a fire-spewing dragon, which is merciless to intruders. How can the captive make their escape? They should wait until nightfall when the sun is down and then make a dash through the first exit. A criminal has been sentenced to face a fatal fate, and he is given a choice to meet his end in one of three rooms: a room engulfed in a blazing fire, a room occupied by assassins, or a room inhabited by lions that haven't eaten a meal in years. Which room should he select? He should opt for the room with the lions. If they haven't eaten in years, they aren't alive anymore. Once, a magician bragged about being able to hold his breath underwater for 6 minutes. A kid overheard this and exclaimed, "And I can do 10 minutes with no gear." The magician bet $10,000. Oddly, the kid won. Do you know how? She was just holding a glass of water above her head for 10 minutes. A monkey, a squirrel, and a bird are having a race to the tip of a ginormous coconut tree, all of them eyeing a delicious banana at the top. Who's going to be the lucky winner here? The monkey, the squirrel, or the bird? Oh please, the answer is none of them, because bananas don't grow on coconut trees. There are 5 apples in a basket and 5 people in the room. Each person takes 1 apple. Yet in the end, 1 apple is left in the basket. How come? The last person took an apple together with the basket. There's a person who lives on the 14th floor of a building. When they take the elevator downstairs, they stop at the first floor. When they go upstairs, they only go to the 10th floor. And after that, they use the stairs the rest of the way. But here's the twist. When they're in the elevator with someone else, or when it's raining, they go straight to the 14th floor. So what's the deal with this weird behavior? This person is a child. They can't reach the 14th floor button. When it's raining, this kid has an umbrella and can use it to press the button. And when they're with someone else, this other person can press the button for them. A driver goes the wrong way on a one-way street, but when he passes a few cops, they don't stop him. Why? Because he's walking, not driving. 2 fathers and 2 sons go to the mall and then return home in a car. However, when they get out of the car at home, only 3 people exit. How is it possible? Did they forget someone at the mall? Well, it's because we've got 3 generations here: a grandfather, a father, and a son. So even though there are 2 fathers and 2 sons, there are only 3 individuals. A couple went on a 3-week-long vacation, taking great care to secure their home and asking a neighbor to look after it during their absence. Upon their return, the wife discovered that her valuable jewelry was gone. How did it happen? She had hidden her precious jewelry inside the freezer in a bag with frozen food. But during their absence, there was a power outage. The frozen food went bad, and the neighbor, trying to be helpful, threw away the spoiled food. Bye-bye, jewelry. Imagine finding yourself in a pitch-black room. You have just a matchbox, a candle, and a lamp. You have only one match. The question is, what should you light first? Easy peasy. You light the match first. Think of an 8-letter word that remains a valid word even when you remove one letter at a time until only one letter is left. It's almost impossible to guess, but give it a try. The word is starting. You can take away letters one by one like this: starting, staring, string, sting, sing, sin, in, and finally I. Did you find those tough? Let me know in the comments. Daisy returned home and noticed that someone had broken into her apartment and stolen her diamond necklace. The police arrive and question 3 neighbors. Greg was painting his ceiling. He was wearing headphones, so he couldn't hear anything. Bianca was hiking with her bestie all day long. They've just returned home. Glenda only went out once to walk her dog. She thinks she heard some weird noises from Daisy's apartment. Who's lying? Greg, take a look at his ceiling. Does it look freshly painted? Busted. Daisy works as a manager at the local circus. Her task is to prepare their new location for future performances. She arrives at the spot, takes a look at the stage, and freaks out. Why? Take a closer look at the sign. It says citrus instead of circus. Daisy goes to her favorite cafe to have lunch. There, she sees these 3 people. One of them was poisoned. Can you guess who? The third guy didn't even touch his cappuccino. He must be just sleeping. The second lady is awake. She has some cappuccino mustache, nothing criminal. But take a look at the first guy. He's wearing glasses, so we can't say for sure whether he's awake or not. Meanwhile, his phone is ringing in his pocket, but he shows no reaction at all. That's suspicious. So he's the poisoned one. After lunch, Daisy enters one of the dressing rooms and finds their star, Clown Roger, unconscious on the floor. Daisy calls the police. They arrive very quickly and question 3 witnesses. Bob says he was just walking by. He has never seen this clown before. Mia says that she's a huge fan of Clown Roger, and she's very sorry. And Nick says that he's just a handyman. The circus hired him to fix problems with electricity. Who's lying? Bob. He said he had never seen this actor, but he's wearing a t-shirt which has a print of Clown Roger's face. So Bob must be his crazy fan. Daisy visits another star of the circus, Dave. He's a talented acrobat. Dave has just received a mysterious basket of candies with a letter. The sender is unknown. The letter says, "Dear Dave, thank you very much for your talent. I really like you. Let's go out sometime. Best wishes." There's no name on the letter. Dave has no clue who it could be from. Luckily, there's a short little riddle. 3rd of August, 4th of February, 2nd of May, 3rd of December, and 6th of October. Can you help him crack the code? The 3rd of August means the third letter in the word August, which is G. The fourth letter of February is R. The second letter of May is A, and so on. So the name of Dave's secret admirer is Grace. The circus company throws a corporate party. They ask all employees to wear some Halloween costumes. So Daisy heads to the shopping mall to get herself one. But they only have 3 options to choose from: a witch outfit, a mermaid costume, and a vampire costume. Can you help her make the best choice? Take a closer look at the witchy costume. This tag says it's made out of paper, so it's a bad idea to wear it at a party. As for the mermaid costume, the tail is torn at the back. So, Daisy should pick the vampire outfit. Daisy arrives at the party. Everyone's dancing in their Halloween costumes, but one of these 4 people is a real vampire. Can you guess who? Let's see. The guy on the left is drinking something red, but he has a shadow, so he can't be a real vampire. The second lady looks pretty creepy, but if you look closely at the mirror on the wall, you'll see her reflection, so we can exclude her. We can also see the reflection of the fourth guy in the mirror. Only one lady is left, so she must be the real vampire. Daisy's town has an old haunted museum. Daisy and her friends decide to spend Halloween night inside the museum to have some spooky time. As the clock strikes midnight, the portraits hanging on the walls of the museum come to life. A portrait of a lady starts screaming for some help. She tells Daisy that the former employees dared to make a fake version of her portrait, and she wants Daisy to destroy it. But Daisy takes a look at the fake portrait and spots 3 differences from the original. She assures the lady that it can't hold a candle to the original. Can you spot them too? The lipstick color, the pendant, and the ribbon on her hair are all different. Then Daisy goes to the cafeteria to grab some snacks. There are 3 options only. Which one should she choose? Take a look at the date that's written on the potato chips bag. According to it, the chips expired in 1924, so that's a pass. The small note below the ice cream says it's earwax flavored. Nobody wants to taste that. So Daisy should pick the popcorn. Daisy keeps on walking and comes across a building. There are 2 ladies in 2 different apartment windows. Both seem to be busy with household duties, but one of them is dangerous. Can you guess who? The second lady is just getting rid of pests. There's nobody in the room and she's wearing a mask. But take a look at the lady on the left. There's an open bleach bottle next to the food she's cooking. Ew, no thank you. Daisy keeps on walking and faces something curious. It's a 5-letter word that is under you. If you remove its first letter, then it's over you. If you remove its first and second letters, It's all around you. What is it? It's just a chair. The next morning, Daisy arrives at the circus. She finds out that Dave was kidnapped by a mad scientist. He locked Dave in his lab in one room and put a zombie in another room. Daisy arrives at the lab to rescue Dave. She sees these two doors with two signs. Only one of them tells the truth, and another one lies. The sign on the first door says, "Dave is here and the zombie is in the next room." And the sign on the second door says, "The zombie is in one room and Dave is in the other." So, where's Dave? Dave is in the second room. If door 1 tells the truth, then door 2 is true too. This is contrary to the terms of the game. Daisy rescues Dave. They escape through a long corridor together. Soon the corridor splits into 3 tunnels. They are signed West, East, and South. The pair also see some weird inscriptions on the wall. Which corridor should they choose? Daisy and Dave should tilt their heads and look at the inscription upside down. This way, it reads South. The guys keep on walking and find a door, but it's locked. They need to enter a 4-digit password. Luckily, there's a hint nearby. It's a note that has 4 images. Can you help Daisy and Dave crack the code? Each digit corresponds to the number of colors of the objects. This clover only has 1 color. The Santa hat has 2, the banana has 1, and finally the rainbow has 7. So the code is 1217. Daisy and Dave open the door and escape from the lab. They find themselves in the middle of an island. The guys hit the road and drive to the pier, where they face these 3 bridges leading to the mainland. Sharp rocks and glass cover the first bridge. The second one is swarming with venomous snakes. Hot orange lava is boiling on the third road. Which route should they choose? They're driving an open-top car, so it's dangerous to choose the snakes. The first bridge will destroy their tires, so they should pick the third route. The ocean will soon cool the lava down and turn it into stone.